What's up, everybody? Tanner Larsson here, and welcome back to the Optimized Ecommerce Podcast. Very excited to have you here, and very excited to have a repeat guest from the BGS team, Bret Thompson. So Bret is our in-house partner and copywriter extraordinaire, right? Bret is one of the top copywriters in the game when it comes to ecom, long form, email, whatever kind of sales copy you've got. And we were very excited when he, finally joined the team a few years ago, and our members love him on the copy calls that he does every month. And today we're going to talk about, copywriting for one, but we're going to talk about a specific subset of that, which is speed copywriting. So how can you write high quality ads, emails, sales pages, product descriptions, all that kind of stuff fast? Okay. Cause that's the trick. It's not always about, how to produce the absolute best copy. It's how can you get copy out the door, test it, and then refine it. And, I consider myself somewhat of a copywriter. I've got a bunch of years of experience as a copywriter, but nothing to the level of Bret. And we were just talking off air about how, sometimes you get those blocks where you just can't work through them. And, how do you get through it? And we were just talking about one of the ones that Bret just had, and I've been in that same situation before. So anyway, Bret, thank you so much for joining us today. And I said, let's dive right in.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Look, I'm excited to be here, mate, and share. I want anybody who's listening to this, I want to give you a good reason to stick to the end, because what I'm going to share with you is a little bit about my journey on how I came across the importance of speed copywriting. Which is another way of actually, you can use it to break through any procrastination, right? But as I was talking to Tanner the last month during Black Friday, I came to a grinding halt where some of the things that I used to rely on didn't work. And I had to tap into something new. So I'm going to have a very raw and real discussion at the end about what happens when it could be outside influence this stops you, or it could be fear of all different things. I'm going to show you some other kind of emergency break the glass strategies to get you back on the seat and write no matter how you're feeling.
No.
All right.
Now, guys, just to clarify, if it triggered you a little bit or made you like, what does he mean? When he says Black Friday last month, he means prepping our Black Friday email promotions and campaigns for the upcoming Black Friday, which hasn't even hit yet. It hits next week. But so, and what he means by that is in our Ecom Insider community, every year for the past 5 years, we have further refined our Black Friday, Cyber Monday marketing campaign. It's basically a turnkey campaign in a box with, emails, SMS, strategies, bundling all the different things that we've done. And basically we use it in our Amplified program. We also use it in the Ecom Insider program. And then after Black Friday, we all powwow together and everybody reports on their results, what they earned, what they didn't do, what worked, what didn't work. And then we continually refine it and tighten it up every single year. So Bret was trying to put the finishing touches on it before we sent it out to all of our members last month. And I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it's almost 100-page document, not counting all the emails and template, that stuff. So it's a big deal.
It's a monster, mate. It's 120 pages, 50 pre-written emails, but also timing, sequence, segmenting, and keeping up with the evolution of marketing, what's working and what's not. And it's just not rehashed, recycled stuff. So, it's a responsibility that I and we all take very seriously. So anyway, that's worth listening to. But before that, for years, I won't bother telling you much about my story. There's other podcasts about that. But in Australia, I've been regarded as one of the top copywriters for 16 odd years. And with that, you can become in a bit of a bubble when you have a reputation, you're speaking on stage and running your own courses and all the rest, that you don't I guess not a lot of people are testing all the stuff that you're doing. They're just like taking your word for it and going with it. And that's why in the last 5 years, working 100% e-commerce with you, Tanner, and BGS, I just love the levels of testing that goes into everything we do, right? Yeah. And with that, I've always said that copywriting is not a matter of put in fancy words on paper. Like it's a matter of understanding the psychology of your prospect and what it's going to do to make them take the next step, right? Now, one of the fastest ways to lose money sometimes is try and have that level of perfection with your copywriting, and just something that's 99% perfect that's sitting in draft is nowhere near as good as something that's 70% okay, that's out there being tested and refined. Yep. And I say that with a lot of humility now, because I love when my ideas don't work. And like, it annoys me, don't get me wrong, but it forces me to think outside the square. Some of the things that we think, work, have worked in other areas years ago, they're not working now. It's a really good place to be. Now, I say all that for this reason, and that is that all leads to the importance of speed copywriting. I used to stand up on stage and beat my chest and say, copywriting is the most profitable skill you can do in the world. And in a way, it's true. But again, if you take too long to do it, it's not profitable. But speed copywriting is arguably one of the most profitable, skills you can have in the world. So
let's break that down. What is speed copywriting? What's it all about comparative to your traditional copy?
Yeah, look, a couple of principles which I learned early on from a good mate of mine, Pete Godfrey, I sometimes collect little one-liners that make a difference. One of them is good enough, right? And then sometimes I still have to remind myself that 17 years later, good is good enough, right? So speed copywriting is just a matter of getting something that's good enough and out there and get it tested, right? Now I don't claim to be the clever guy that's come up with this. I was put in a situation where I was forced to write fast, right? In Australia, there's the Dan Kennedy of Australia, his name's Mal Emery, right? And I was working in his team, and he came up with this great idea, like most entrepreneurs do. They said, "Hey, Brett, I've got this idea. Let's do a tour around Australia and go to all 5 states, and we'll pick someone up from the audience, bring them up on stage, find out about their business. Then you go into a hotel room, lock yourself there for 24 hours, and write 12 months worth of copy for them and present it the next day." I'm like, wow, that's your idea, Mal, huh? That's amazing. And like anything else, I say yes and clean up the mess later. So we did that, and I wrote a long form sales letter, website copy, email reply, sequence. We made a full page newspaper ad, an advertorial, an editorial, and offline. I did all that in overnight. Didn't sleep. And not because I'm so brilliant at all. It was fear of public humiliation. But the next day, I had to jump up on stage and show them, right? So I learned something about myself then, that with the right amount of pressure, you can actually do amazing things. I just want to let you guys know that if I can do it, you can. Now, and that kind of led into me, and that kind of led into another a course that I ended up creating years ago called the 7-Hour Sales Letter, where I took those principles and taught other people to do that. Now, I only say that because I want to let you guys know that what I'm going to talk about is not just theory. It's worked for me. We've worked with hundreds of other people, and we can give you some principles where you can write super fast video scripts, landing pages, product descriptions, everything, emails, of course, in Ecom. If you put the right, if you put in the right environment,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So
let's dive in. What is it?
So the first thing there's 4 things. There's preparation, formulas, mindset, and some other speed hacks, which I'm going to talk about. So there's no such thing as writer's block, right? The truth behind what we experience as writer's block is lack of preparation, right? So, and here's a very, very important twist on that. I hung on to that for many, many years, but until recently, preparation, if you spend too much time with it, can be a form of procrastination. I promise you. Like, you can be so busy and preparing because there's still a bit of a fear about jumping in and writing. So you've got to be very mindful. You've got to, and always, I tell myself, good is good enough. Like, for instance, if I'm writing a GSD report for Ecom Insider, it could be on, I don't know, next one is probably the New Year's, New Year's promotion, right? I'll look and see what other blog posts are doing. Now, if I'm not careful, I can have 20 or 30 different blog posts and try and find the commonalities of all of them. But I'll say that's stupid. Like, just bring up 7 for 5, whatever. That's it, because you've got to trust that you're good enough to carry the rest through. So so preparation is a big thing. So how do I prepare? There's I'm talking to you as if you're not a pro copywriter, but it's really important to understand what all the features of your product are, but also, more importantly, are the benefits of the product. That's 101 copywriting, right? But also there's one step further, and what is the emotion that's attached to the benefit, okay? So, for instance, if you're selling a bike, the features are it's got 10 gears. The benefits of that is that you can climb hills faster. The emotion attached to that is satisfaction, self-esteem, and feeling good about yourself, and even being healthier and feeling more attracted to the opposite sex. You know what I mean? You can push it as far. I push it to as far as I can. So when I put my preparation, I put a list of features, list of benefits, list of emotions, and then I'll another thing I'll put together, which is really important, is a list of proof assets. Because people don't believe what we say, they believe what other people say. And the great copywriter of all time, Gary Bencivenga, said if he had a gun to his head and had to choose one thing that's going to increase conversions, what would he do? And he'd say proof, right? And I have the luxury, as you do, Tanner, we get to critique stores all the time, right, within our community. It's amazing that they've got so many secrets underneath that they're not exposing on their homepage and making it visible, like how many reviews or customers, how many, those things that scream believability. So
like the ones that are like, hey, you have a million customers? Yeah, I've got a million customers. Well, why are you telling people that? Why is that important? Well, yeah, it is important, right? That's the kind of stuff that happens all the time. Or one of our ladies, she sells a very successful plus size store. When we first time we did a jam session on her, she's told us that her repeat customer rate is like 90-something%, and she does a couple $1 million a year. With no traffic, which is not a good business from a growth perspective, but an amazing testimonial to the fact that her customers continually come back all the time. And I'm like, why aren't we advertising that? Oh, I never thought it was a big deal. And then now she does, and now it's made a big difference in her store.
Yeah, that's so true, man. And I know another member we've had a chat to, and they just in conversation to the critique, she'd work with all these celebrities who would endorse her. I said, where's that? They go, I don't want to be boastful. I'm like, come on, man.
Like, you have a choice in that regard now.
Yeah. So proof elements are key, and that deserves its own podcast just on that. But that's some of the preparation. Just make sure that that's going to stop writer's block. But again, don't spend too much time in that. The second thing, it's really good to understand some basic copywriting formulas, right? Because, and I know we've talked about this, like you can have so much stuff now, but where do you put it, right? So I'll share some basic formulas, like Dan Kennedy's favorite formula. Dan Kennedy, arguably one of the best marketers alive, is a PAS, problem, aggravate, solve. So you look at a Facebook ad, start with the problem and aggravate it, meaning you got to twist the knife or put it in a story that kind of, and there's a lot of power in that, because if you can describe somebody's problem better than they can, they automatically think you have the solution, right? So it's and also the reason why we start with problem, because Facebook advertising is interruptive marketing, and it's not as if they're walking around thinking about their problem all the time. So our job in copywriting is to catch their attention and stir up their problem so it's the forefront of the mind and to the point of an anxiety, but if possible, and then you throw in your product as a solution, right? But try, and what I see a problem with is a lot of business owners are so close to their business and their product that they try and beat people over the head with logical reasons why they should buy.
What it can do, why it's so awesome, and they forget all about the pain.
Yeah, correct. So problem make a great solution. Very, very simple formula. There's more advanced ones. The oldest that we know of copywriting formula is AIDA, A-I-D-A, and that is A for attention, I for interest, D for desire, and A for action. So grab their attention. So we're talking about like the masters of sales psychology. When they didn't have the luxury of Facebook ads, they'd have to write a full page newspaper advertisement, put it in the paper and hope that the phone would ring. Otherwise they couldn't feed their kids the next
and wait
day, right?
weeks to see if it does work, only to have to wait weeks again to make a change.
Exactly. So that's why the gold is in the old. I still read those old books because their level of psychology and is fascinating. There's a great book which I know 99% of people won't read this. It's called the Robert Collier Letter Book. He has copies of all his ads, but he unpacks his thinking behind it. It's an absolute masterclass, even now when I read it. It's crazy. So I only say that because, obviously the headline is the attention. So I spend, when I write some copy, I'll spend, sometimes 50 to 70% of the time in that researching phase, which includes coming up with a big idea. Now, I won't go too deep in this because, again, this deserves its own discussion. But when it comes to a formula, grabbing their attention is key. But it's not grabbing their attention is easy, but you also have to gain their interest. And the example that I remember being shared was if you're driving in a car and you see like something shine or some commotion out, you might look across and you'll see, okay, that's it. But if it doesn't catch your interest, you'll just keep driving. It's the same with headlines. You've got to have something underneath that actually fascinates you and gain their interest. And so how do you do that? You can pull them into a story straight away. You can share an interesting fact that goes, oh, wow. Because in the book, the greatest copyright book of all time, Breakthrough Advertising, it says our first job is to kind of grab their attention or hold their attention enough to read the next line. Then we have to get that line to hold their attention enough to read the third, and then the third to the fourth. If you can do that, there's a good chance to get it carried all the way through, right? So in Facebook land, it's the image that's going to grab their attention, and they might read the headline. If that fascinates them enough, then they might read the body copy, and all the way through to the call to action. So just if I could recap, we got grab their attention, hold their interest, and then create desire, and then obviously a call to action. I see a lot of people be weak in that area, which is they don't tell people what to do. People need to be told what to do. Don't leave it up to them, right? So one thing I just brushed over was desire. The desire is where you make them actually want it, right? So that's a really good formula. AIDA, you can look it up and see some good examples.
And the thing is with both of these, you got problem, agitate, and solve, right? And then you got AIDA. So you got both of those are simple and they can be applied to practically every single product. The thing is that people are so close to their product, they kind of tend, like Bret said, to focus only on the not even the benefits, it's the features. My phone has 700 things. It's got 12 cameras. It can do this. It's black. It's it's black and blah, 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 right? None of that matters. I don't care that it has, what is this? This one looks like 6 cameras, or I don't know, 6 little shiny spots that could be cameras. I don't know what they all do. All I know and all I care about is that it takes really good pictures that makes it look like I know how to take pictures, even though I don't. That's what I care about. Not the 6 little spots right here, right? I don't know what the megapixel is. I don't care. 90% of your audience is that way, right? Maybe not 90, maybe it's the high 70s. Then you have another percentage that actually do, like Alex. You've seen him on the podcast. Alex wants to read every little technical detail, and he wants to know exactly how thick the glass is on the screen. He wants to know exactly what the touchpad sensitivity is. Like, he cares about that stuff because he's analytical. But we're not speaking to the right kind of copy, right? Or the right kind of person in every step. So what Bret's talking about, these different different systems, ensure that you touch on all of that different stuff and all those different buyer types through the copy. Okay. And that's where the importance is of following the system. Otherwise, you tend to talk about your product where you're just vomiting on people and not actually taking them through a story or a process.
Yeah, well said, man. Thanks for that. And I want to say also too that these days I would never try and challenge the the AIDA formula, because it's like historical in the copywriting community. But there's these days, instead of grabbing their attention, you've got to almost go for that shock factor. Like, it's harder to grab people's attention these days. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that's our job. We just got to grab attention, right? So you got to shock them instead of the eye, which is gaining their interest. You've got to fascinate them. So I always try and work in that scary space and push a bit harder, and that desire, you've got to make them kind of salivate for it. Really, it's really and the call to action these days, it's not just about taking action. We've got to think about upsells, downsells, and continuity, right? So that's a sort of modernized twist on that. But there's other formulas. Another one quickly before I move on to the next part is PADSCA, which is problem, aggravate. It's kind of like problem, aggravate, solve, but problem, aggravate, and it's discredit other. And I say that in a way, but you've got to close the other options. For instance, if you're selling a health product and there's multiple ways they can get that benefit, you've got to close the doors of other areas, so there's only one door to go through. So you don't do that in a bad way that makes you look like you're unethical, but you can just say, hey, have you tried this and it didn't work? Have you tried that and it didn't work? Have you tried this? You kind of close those doors and show them the path, so that you kind of discredit that way. And
you're throwing other pieces under the bus as like, hey, there's a reason my product works. It's because and the reason we developed it is because of X, Y, and Z, these other issues. Like, the supplement space is huge like this. But so multivitamins, you're talking about supplements. Okay. Most multivitamins are so compressed and there's so much of them, you just piss them out. Your body can't absorb them. So breaking them down into multiple pill forms or not hard compressed tablets, or making them orally available, or, something like that, it's a major benefit. So you have to discredit the pill form that made it necessary for you to develop your bioavailable or your orally available, whatever, liquid form of vitamins, because your body actually ingests it absorbs more of it, you piss less of it out, so you waste less of it. Like, that's discrediting. You're not being bad, you're just being factual. If you have inflatable paddleboard and you're competing against regular paddle boards, you're discrediting the fact that their regular paddle boards are heavy as crap, right? And they're not storable. They're not easy to move, but your inflatable one, man, you can fold it up, roll it up, throw it in the trunk of your car, inflate it when you need it. It's light and carry it down. You're not saying paddle boards are bad. You're saying, hey, mine solves a different need. And I'm discrediting the competition about what the differentiation aspect is.
Yeah, good, awesome examples, man. That's so true, and it's also true in the way that if a lot of people kind of miss that, and they'll just go straight into their benefits and wonder why they're not getting the conversion.
Yeah, you got to address the objections of, like, why buy your phone? Why wouldn't I buy the phone like the Apple? Why would I buy an Android?
Yeah.
Well, you only buy Apple if you're crazy. If you're smart, you buy Android. Right? Everybody knows it. But if you don't know that, you got to do something to discredit the people who are biting the forbidden fruit, right? Say, hey, you don't want to be that guy. Get an Android.
Because of time, I won't challenge you on that. So I'll let you have that one, buddy.
See, I knew we were on a time compression, so I could get my Android piece out.
Yeah, you get bashed by everyone else in BGS, enough on that. So But yeah, so with so that brings to the next one. So just to recap, PADCA, PADSCA. So problem, aggravate again, then discredit. Then it's S, which is offer your solution. Once you've done that, you can offer your solution. Then the C is credibility, right? Because you could do everything right, and they said, hold on, can I trust these guys? So who's gone before me, and all that kind of stuff. Now, the caveat to that is I think the credibility should be, especially on ecom pages, should be weaved way in from the top. Anyway you can, yeah, definitely higher up. But it's
multiple places in there.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's credibility. Then A, of course, is action. So it's problem, aggravate, solve, but you've got the D and the C in there as well. You've got the discredit and the credibility. So now we could talk about so many other formulas. I'm not going to do that because you can get lost and procrastinated in that. Just find something that's safe for you and just go with it, right? And then you can, if it's just simple PAS, problem, aggravate, solve with your Facebook ads, just keep swapping out the different ways of explaining the hooks and the problems, that's enough, right?
And guys, it doesn't matter what formula you use as long as you can write with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you said you get lost in the formulas, if you're looking at 3 and go, oh my God, whichever one resonates with you, or you think, oh yeah, I think I can write on that, go with it. Don't try to force a square peg into a round hole if, a particular formula feels like it's, pulling teeth.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's true in the way that with their mindset. This is the next point. So we've gone preparation, formulas, and mindset. And you have to be aware of your procrastination habits. The great book which Matt introduced me to was Atomic Habits. That was like, oh man, and now you can know when you're actually yourself anyway. But it's something that I really helped me with understanding about Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law meaning that you will do the project in the given amount of time that you give it, right? So if you don't give it some time, you'll actually the project length will stretch out to whatever time you give it. That's why, like I said, I was given 24 hours to do 12 months copy project, and I did it because I had fear of public humiliation. Yeah. So I say that an example is like if you've got some credibility in your industry, and they said, hey, can you write us a blog post in our we've got millions of views and all the rest. They go, oh, wow, and they're great, and so we'll give you 4 weeks. So in your mind, go, cool. Week 1, I'll do some preparation. Week 2, I'll get some concepts together. Week 3, I'll put the draft, and then week 4, I'll polish it up. That's perfect. And then what happens is a thing called life, and then 48 hours to go before the deadline, you haven't started, so you cram it in, right? It's horrible, it's stressful, and it's what we do. So yeah. So I say that because working with a timer is so key. And that's something I constantly have to remind myself to work to a timer, have a goal, I'm going to do this in the timer, and do your best. On a side note, like if I put, I could write a 30-minute email, an hour email, I can write a 5-minute email.
Yep.
Right. And of course the quality is going to be different, but it's also, you've got to weigh up the speed, right? But you've got to be mindful, like of your own procrastination. Like sometimes you'll be writing, and then your mind will go, I wonder what's in the fridge and see if that's changed in the last hour. So you go and open up the fridge, and no, it's still the same. Like, you just do stupid things, or
distract yourself.
And so what I do, I have a bit of paper next to me, and I have a thing called what do I write on there? Dump, and I dump my, So for instance, it's so weird when you want to do something really important, your brain will automatically give you the most amazing memory at that point. They go, you didn't email that person back then. And that person's waiting for you to do this or that, and all this. All of a sudden, all the things you forgot about goes to the forefront of your mind because your brain's trying to get you to, avoid doing something that you're not really looking forward to. So what I'll do, I'll just put in my dump file, boom, boom, boom. And so I'll use some of those things as a reward when I've finished. But so you've got to validate it. It's called the monkey brain. The monkey brain will just give you all these things that you think you should. Now's the time I might go and, clean the shower or whatever, stupid things. And you can justify it, but I'll just write that down and get stuff done, right? And the other mindset is when you do it, I had to psych myself up sometimes and tell myself that because any given time, despite our us always constantly trying to improve our mindset, we can have down days. Mm-hmm. Like you wake up having down days, right? So I don't leave it to chance. I might, for me, I listen to really cool worship music that fills me up, but it could be like Rocky movies. I used to listen to Rocky or listen to some personal development stuff. Whatever's going to put you in that state. And the other mindset thing that you should think about is, yes, I'm going to write good enough, and yes, I'm going to do it fast. Right? So I have to tell myself this all the time. These are things that are going to help you write fast, because the concept of speed copywriting is great, but I wouldn't be doing you justice if I didn't have the tools. Yeah. The other speed hacks, this is the fourth thing, is more about your environment. Number one, I'll make sure I'm in lockdown. We all pretty much, so much of us work from home now. So I'll say to Lanika, I'm going in lockdown. She knows what that means. That's doors closed, no texting, phones. If you can work offline with no internet, great. If not, just at least put your phone on silent. Another thing which is a form of procrastination is eating, like sometimes having food there, and then let's go on to do my work, but it's so easy just to have one break and just start eating, and those little things are just interrupting the flow. So you've got to work out what your comfortable time frame is to work in. There's Pomodoro principle, which is you'll see that if you research it, it's a little tomato timer where they'd say work for 25 minutes uninterrupted and then take 5 minutes off, like strict 5 minutes, and then have another 25 minutes and do 4 of them in a row, and then you can have maybe an hour off, I think it is. So there's some frameworks you can use to do that, which we all like structure and knowing what's ahead. You can do those little time chunks. Even before the Pomodoro kind of philosophy started, way back, one of the best copywriters in the world, Eugene Schwartz, who was the author of Breakthrough Advertising, he used to work in 33 minutes, 33 seconds. And like he'd write, but he was allowed to think at the same time, but he couldn't think or do anything outside of that. It was just in lockdown. And I've learnt on that a lot in my career, just working in bite-sized chunks instead of saying, I've got the whole day to write some emails and let's try and do it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And different ways, different strokes, different folks. So you mentioned the timer. I want to just reiterate that it works very, very good. And I highly recommend you get a timer that's not on your phone. The best timer is literally like one of those little egg timers that you just because if the timer's on your phone, you're going to check your phone. You're going to start playing with it. But so one of the things that helped me get really good at, or not, I say really good, get better at copy when I went from sucking at it to being able to write it effectively and fairly quickly was, back then I was doing a lot of product launch copy, and I was doing product launch consulting, and I was helping people write their copy for the launch. So sales page, pre-sale pages, email sequences, pre-launch sequences, post-launch sequences, affiliate sequences. I mean, we're talking hundreds of emails. And like Bret said, you can write a 5-minute email, a 20-minute email, an hour email. And again, if you don't have all the emails, it's not it's useless. So having one really good email is no good if you don't have the whole 100 that you need. So I had to learn how to write 5-minute emails, and I got the little egg timer. I'd turn it to 5 minutes, and boom, whatever I finished in 5 minutes is all I got to work on that email until all the other ones were done. So, and basically a lot of times they had to go live after 5 minutes because there's just so many of them. And guess what? still did millions of dollars in the launch, still had success. It's just, now can I refine it, make it better if I have more time? Yes. But it's more important, as Bret said multiple times, to have a 70% version of everything out there than to have 90% of one thing and not have it all launched.
Yeah. So cool, man. And I love that we've got an exercise in the EI community about that, writing 5-minute emails, and some of the people just love it. But yeah, and it goes back to good is good enough. You just got to really own that philosophy and back yourself. You just got to back yourself. Good is good enough.
So you mentioned the timing methodology and stuff like that. Are there any other like tech tools or gizmos or gadgets that you like to use to help be effective?
Look, the first thing that came to mind when you said that was not a tech tool. It was the Atomic Habits book.
Yes,
that was good. Just to know myself, and I didn't realize that sometimes I'll sit down and I'll finally get the good idea, and then all of a sudden I just have the energy to stand up and walk and just like bask in that for a while, and then get something to eat. I go, what the heck? And I know that now. Sometimes I still have to do it, but I know what's happening. I have to sit my ass back down and get back to it.
Yep.
So that was a good book for me to understand myself. That for years I didn't realize I had those habits of standing up and walking around. It's what John Carlin says, like circling your desk like a shark. It's but let me think. So So the tech tools. Oh, actually, I'll tell you something. This might not be as far as speed copywriting, but it's very a worthy mention. That's the Hemingway app.
Oh yeah.
It's phenomenal, man. It's free. But you can type in Hemingway app, and you can put your raw copy in there, and that'll give you a grade of what the readability score is. And again, I'm pretty sure we've talked about this on a previous episode, but readability is probably the biggest thing you have to try and overcome before the big idea, the hook, and the clever copy. Because if they don't read it, then they're not going to see it.
Or if they read it and don't understand it.
Exactly.
Most of us have a tendency to write at a higher, like we're writing to almost like a college paper. We have this feeling that we have to write like we're writing to someone higher up than us. But the reality is we actually need to write down, because we understand our topic so much better than the average person. We can't communicate. It's technobabble to them. And Hemingway app, the important thing of that is to be able to write like a fifth grader, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you can dump it in there and it'll instantly tell you what your reading score is, and it'll highlight the things that are a bit clunky where people are going to trip up on. Because like Tanner was alluding to, we have to write to the comprehension rate for a Westernized adult is equivalent to a 12 or 13-year-old, right? So I've told this story before, but when I've got identical twin boys and they're older now, but when they were 12 or 13, I used to get them to read my copy out loud. And if they stumbled, I'd stop and put a red circle around it, because I knew if they stumbled, then the audience I was trying to do was going to stumble. So I had to dumb it down. And I realized one day that I get paid really good money just to dumb down people's copy, right? And just make it more readable. And then there's ways to do that, but yeah, Hemingway apps is a good thing just to get good at dumbing that down. So just to recap, we've talked about preparation, formulas, mindset, and speed hacks. They're the things that if I look at what enabled me to write such an enormous amount of copy in a short amount of time, I had to. They were the challenges that I had to face, and they were the solutions that we talked about that could help me get into that zone.
Absolutely.
But then, as I was alluding to at the start, mate, sometimes you might come to a point in time when, whether it's your mindset or whatever's going on in your environment, where the old tricks in the book don't work for you. And I was faced that when I had to put the most recent Black Friday GSD together. I had so much material, and I just had I put a lot of pressure on myself, which I was aware of, and because I see it's my responsibility, is we've got hundreds of store owners that are waiting to see what I put together, and I do take it very seriously. I don't cutting short on that. But yeah, so I there's going to be certain times when even those 4 things that we talked about, they'll get you through 90% of the way. And you can write copy fast, get it tested, and make money. But if you come to a level where it's like you're going to smash the glass emergency, I found out another way that could help me. And that was grab a notepad and pen, get away from the laptop, and just start writing out my thoughts, like journaling. And I found that just fascinating because we can get trapped in our own thoughts. We're like, we don't realize it, and we're trying to have this mental battle of just sit down but it was like my body was like 2 opposite magnets, and I tried to sit down and went, I just can't do it. It was just really weird. And I'm so grateful I got to experience that because I know I wouldn't be the only one.
No.
But writing it out it was therapeutic. I was, just writing out what's going on, and realizing the BS, which is belief systems that are stopping you, and just bringing that to the awareness and say, hey, that's not true. That's not true. I just and write for as long as you want. Just pen and paper. That helped me. So I'm not sure if you've ever had any of those.
Absolutely.
Break.
Yeah. I mean, like it's a constant thing for me. My head has never stopped, right? It's all, I'm constantly spinning. Like we've talked before about how, like how little I sleep because my brain literally can't shut down. It's always working. I mean, last night I went to bed about 9:30 and I was awake at 2:30 because my brain's just going like crazy. But the one thing that seems to work, and whether I go back to sleep or not, but I can actually be not so agitated, is writing it down. Whatever ideas I have, whether they're stupid, just whatever's circulating in my head, just write it down. Because the reason it keeps circulating in your head is because whether it's dumb or whatever, your brain, yourself doesn't want you to forget it, or is afraid you're going to forget it. So it just keeps processing it over and over and over and over again. But as soon as you write it down, you've given your brain permission to let go. Because now you can't forget it because all you got to do is look at your paper. So you're just like, oh. And then as soon as you do that, it's like this cathartic effect. You just all of a sudden, it's just like, oh man, that feels better. And then, you can come back and look at it and you can scratch off all the things that were stupid and you can keep the few things that were good and, move on. But anytime you start getting spun up in your head, it's a good idea. And I'm not a big pen and paper guy. Like I don't enjoy the pen and paper is what I should say. But I do it because I get a result out of it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, man. It's so true. It definitely has this releasing effect, and emotionally, it's very freeing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So when you need to get something done, and you do, but all these other thoughts keep crowding in the way. Write it down. Write all those stupid thoughts down. Whatever, even the good, bad, whatever. Write them all down. That'll help clear your mind to help you focus back on what it is. But you're not going to be able to get that clarity until you empty your mind of the stuff that basically won't go away.
Yeah, you just reminded me of something cool, actually. And that is sometimes when you sit down to write and you don't know what to write for whatever reason, there's a habit where you just write whatever comes. You could say, I don't know what to write. It's going to come to me soon. And it's just motion beats meditation. That's Gary Halbert said that. Motion beats meditation. We can wait and meditate on what's going to take me to be more effective. But if you just get the gears turning and churning and writing, eventually the brain will go, okay, this is what we're doing. Boom. And I'll just give you what you need. And I did it with my daughter, Chase. She's an amazing story writer, but with social media, she just stopped doing it. And I said, can we just every now and then just do this 6-minute challenge? I said, I went and found these starting like story starters, and I cut them all up, and she put her hand in, grabbed one, and I said, I'm going to put the timer on for 6 minutes, and all you have to do is just type and your fingers have to do the moving the whole time for 6 minutes, and that's it. She goes, okay, Dad, no worries. And man, what she wrote in 6 minutes was fascinating because she just can write in short chunks and just keep the fingers moving, and your brain, your creative, will kind of be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's awesome.
so yeah, but mate, yeah, that's, you know, if just to kind of close the loop on all this, it's speed copywriting is where it's at. And it's all good to outsource copywriting and all the rest, but sometimes you know your product better than your copywriter and than a copywriter. So just have faith in yourself and know that you're good enough, and it doesn't have to be perfect, you know.
Sure. Perfection never gets you anywhere. Done is better than perfect, right? So, guys, that's it for today. Get stuff out there. 70% done is good enough, right? Just get it out there, get it live, perfect it and refine it later, but having it out there is what we need to do. Give some of this stuff a try. You know, leave us a comment, send us a message, join the EI group, whatever. Let us know how things are going. And what you need to do right now is make sure you are subscribed, whether it's on YouTube or on Stitcher or iTunes or wherever you listen to the audio, hopefully on both, because since this is a video podcast, sometimes you want to be able to watch it on like what we're sharing on the screen. So to get those links, head over to buildgrowscale.com/podcast. And on that page as well, you'll see all the show notes and all the links to all the different stuff we've talked about and all the links to all the platforms in case you need to find it. So buildgrowscale.com/podcast. And with that, Bret, thank you very much. And we will see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. See you guys.